Hello, 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 everyone. How are we doing this weekend? Hope you guys are staying warm, staying safe. The weather out there is quite wicked right now. So, tonight we're going to cover some more about the Iran stuff or Iran. Um, we're going to go back to one of my favorite channels to watch for some of this information, and that's 2CTV. Uh, he did a video earlier today in regards to the buildup of military that's going on over there. And one of the surprising things that I heard is that this military buildup is bigger than the buildup we had when we went into Afghanistan, Iraq. This is the largest military buildup pretty much in recent history. So there's big things about to happen, and he goes over it quite well. So I wanted to share this with you guys. And again, the channel's name is 2CTV. It's right here. He's got 1.38 million subscribers. So if you guys want to stay up to date on everything, he's posting several times a day. He talks about not just Iran, he talks about everything that's going on around the world. He's a Persian with family members in Iran, and he lives, I believe he lives over in the UK. But still, he covers it quite well. He covers lots of different topics. So make sure you guys go over and check him out and see what he's all about. He's very professional, and he jokes around from time to time, but he usually has quite up to date information. So go give him a shout or check him out. So we'll get this started.
Welcome to 2CTV. This is your global news channel. Armada 2C, and the military buildup in the Middle East is escalating very, very quickly as the United States are now building a coalition of nations in order to fight against the IRGC in Iran. Welcome to the channel, guys. We're going to give you guys the latest update on this. Apologies for the delay today. Unfortunately, as you guys know, a lot of people with connections in Iran have had their loved ones, family members, and their friends murdered by the Islamic occupation forces over the last few weeks. Unfortunately, we also received some sad news earlier today from our side. We've lost another one, but the fight continues. Keep calm and carry on. The war continues in Iran, and the war outside of the Iranian territory is also building up. We're going to give you guys all the updates. There's a lot to cover in terms of the military movements in the region. Before we begin, if you would like to support the channel and our small team of brilliant people here, then the best thing you can do is get something out of it. Become a member of 2CTV Plus today for only £1 on a 7-day trial to get full access to our streaming service, documentaries, interviews, original series, our podcast and chat forum. The link is in the description under the video. All right, let's talk about the Middle East. The embassies are closing down, which is interesting, as expected, but it's moving very quickly. So the Islamic Republic are now evacuating their diplomats from a number of countries, including Denmark and the United Kingdom. Also, I realized the number of subscribers needs to be updated because it's not 1,378,000. It's 1,380,000. So brilliant. Now let's quickly go to the situation in London. The British embassy in Tehran is already closed. They've now left. The diplomats, the Iranian regime have also decided to close the embassy. They are evacuating their staff. There is a situation in central London today. There is, I think it might have just finished, a march in Westminster. I was supposed to be there. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it because of all the issues that I've been dealing with. But over the last few days, we've had escalations and tensions in London. In case you don't know, the IRGC headquarters outside of the country is based in London, in Maidavale. It's called the Islamic Center of England. And the Islamic Republic have put...
We're going to skip through a little bit of this. We don't need to see those guys driving by, screaming and yelling. Oh, you're in Australia, Queens? Nice. Yeah, it's got to be hot over there. You Shorty, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. Coming from surgery. Battling through a nasty snowstorm. Yeah, that's what we're going through up here too. We got real cold weather. And I'm glad you're getting some of those ailments taken care of. I know you've been needing to for a while.
The military buildup. First things first, let's talk about the IRGC themselves.
So, what's happening right now for you guys that, like I said, that are coming in right now? We have one of the largest military buildups off the coast of Iran and or Iran, and this is one of the largest military buildups that have happened in many years. We have, if you guys weren't here for the last live stream, we have an entire battle group that's over there. Now there's been a coalition that has been made. It was just U.S. and Israel that was going to go into it, but now there's several other countries that he's going to list here, and Iran's making all sorts of threats and all sorts of different things, to America, which none of them matter. The amount of military power that we have will decimate Iran in a matter of just a few hours. We were planning on, well, there was talk that something was going to happen last weekend, but Israel and several of the other nations that are surrounding the area said that, because of the threats that Iran is saying with launching all their weapons at once, talking about how they're just going to, let go of everything, which most regimes, when they're about ready to get overthrown, that's exactly what they do. But the death toll now has risen to what they're saying is about 60,000 that have been just mercifully murdered out in the streets. We've seen in the last live stream trucks driving down the road with 50 caliber machine guns on the back of it, and they're just mowing people down. And that's still going on. Tusi will go over a lot of it here, and we'll watch through it. And I'll try to let it play as much as possible so we can kind of get some of the information, and I don't cut in and out all the time. But like one of Iran's threats are like the surveillance video, and the surveillance video is like 3 or 4 years old, and they're putting it out now and make it seem like they have information on us and trying to make us scared or make us worry. But yeah, you just listen. It's going to be quite interesting. And the funny thing is that all this stuff is happening over in Minnesota and whatnot. Do you guys remember what happened when all we were going to do was take out the nuclear facilities in Iran and the big uproar it made and how it made all the news and everything like that? Well, this isn't nowhere to be found. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's caring about it. And I wonder why. Until you guys realize the big picture and realize that all this little nonsense that's going on is, so that you guys don't see everything else that's going on. Everybody's going to keep being played like pawns, and you're just going to continue to live in their world. All this stuff that's going on in Minnesota with the ice and stuff like that, they're getting you guys all emotionally wrapped up, so all your attention stays over there. When in change, we're about ready to hit World War III over in the Middle East, and nobody's even talking about it. Iran said that if America decides to strike, then they're going to let loose of all of their military might. That includes the Houthis, that includes Hezbollah, that includes all of them, ISIS, Al Qaeda, all those. They're all going to let loose, and when they do, it's going to be all-out war, and nobody's talking about it. And like I said, until people start realizing that they're just pawns in this game, everybody's going to be blind to what's going on.
The Islamic Republic have now issued a retaliation warning again against the Americans, saying that we will strike the U.S. fleet whenever we choose. That includes the USS Abraham Lincoln. They have been circulating this footage. This is by Press TV, which is the Islamic Republic TV abroad. the essentially close-range UAV footage of the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier, which is now operating near the Persian Gulf in the Middle East. It's obviously now arrived after a couple of weeks of journey. So they are basically taunting the Americans, saying we can do precise surgical strikes on your fleet, which again I've been saying over the last few days will be the most stupid thing that the Islamic Republic could do if they even try to target the USS Abraham Lincoln. Obviously, it will be protected anyway, but it is a very bad idea to provoke the Americans even further at this point, because you're not just going to have a precise targeted attacks by the Americans or the Israelis or the others, but you're also going to get a full-on invasion if you do that. We will talk about the coalition and who is involved in this international coalition against the IRGC. The numbers have been growing over the last couple of days, but the Islamic Republic have also been boasting about their ballistic missiles. As you guys know, they are saying that they currently have about 1,500 ballistic missiles. But they have a limited number of missile launchers because the Israelis successfully destroyed most of them during the 12-day war back in June. And they also can't really fire more than a dozen of missiles at the same time in terms of in a single barrage, for example, because they don't have the capacity. According to the estimates by the Israeli intelligence, the Islamic Republic will try to mobilize regional militias to also fire at Israel as well as the American base and allies. So that includes the Houthis, that includes the Hezbollah of Iraq, and that's basically it, because the Hezbollah of Lebanon are not really going to be much of a threat. The Israelis have been suffocating them over the last year or so, but the Islamic Republic will be using some of the proxies, the remaining members of the proxies, to also attack. But I'm not really sure if that is going to be a big threat after everything that's been happening. But the Islamic regime have also now issued a notice in terms of closing its airspace to low-flying.
So if you guys look, this is Iran. You can see all the planes going around it. Some are going through, but most of them are going around it. So what has been said is that Khamenei, or whatever the Ayatollah's name is, they rushed him to an underground secret bunker because they're worried about things getting ready to kick off. Now, the one thing that everybody knows is that bombings, they don't usually happen until the weekend, especially if America's involved, because they don't want the stock market to be up in trading. Usually whenever bombings and stuff happen, the stock market takes a giant hit, so they tend to wait till the weekend when the markets are closed in order to do anything about the bombings. So not saying that it won't happen during the week, but it's highly doubtful that it's going to happen during this week. So far, like Iran, the Ayatollah has been making all these threats and have been saying that they're going to do this, that, and the other thing. But what surprises me about nations like this is that they couldn't do anything during the 12-day war, when we flew in and bombed the snot out of them and left and nothing happened. And then Israel's been fighting them left and right for a couple of years now, and they haven't been able to do much damage. So what makes them think that they're going to be able to hold up in any way, shape, or form? They make all these threats and they can't back any of them up. The only thing that they can do is just go out in the streets and just murder their own, which they're doing. They're going into hospitals, they're going into medicine centers, they're going into people's homes, they're going out on the street, and they're just taking people out left and right.
VFRs and also just general aviation flights for the next 90 days. They are essentially signaling extra security because they know that any moment something could happen. Now, this won't really do much. This is primarily for them to be able to control their own skies when it comes to their own military aircrafts, because they won't really be able to stop the Americans or the Israelis from flying into the Iranian airspace. But it will help them to have more control without having any other random aircraft in Iran, especially low-flying aircraft, being a distraction. Which, by the way, I mean, with or without this notice, I think any sensible person in Iran will try not to fly around, but unless you are military or government. So this is the latest notice that has now been given from Tehran, the capital of Iran. Now, they also, in the Navy of the IRGC, so the Islamic Navy, they have now sent 10 Ghadir-class submarines, which is armed with Hoot torpedoes, along with the 86th group ship, and of course the electronic warfare ship. They've sent this now to the Sea of Oman, the Gulf of Oman, and the Strait of Hormuz. So there is a lot of speculations about whether we are going to be seeing a blockade in the Strait of Hormuz between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. But in reality, there are going to be bigger problems, because I'm not fairly confident whether the Islamic Republic submarine will be any sort of threat. What will be a threat is if they start mining things and planting mines, sea mines. But at the same time, any of the warships from the United States could just destroy everything on its way anyway. They have a good radar system as well, but it's a little bit embarrassing what they are trying to build up. The Israelis, the message from Israel to the civilians in Iran is now quite clear. We ask all people of Iran to stay away from military areas until further notice, which I do believe that at this point, the sensible people in Iran are quite aware that it is probably best to stay away from military areas until the whole thing finishes. Gideon says, those submarines are coffins. Yeah, if you're in there and there's war, you're not going to get out of that, especially if they pull the trigger, the Islamic regime. So this is a warning to the Iranian civilians on the ground, but at the same time, it's not just the Navy of the Islamic Republic that's mobilizing in the region. They've also been sending out their idiotic and incompetent and inefficient Shahid drones. Yes, the Shahid drones that are also used in Ukraine, not the...
Yeah, these are the drones that Russia's buying from Iran to attack Ukraine with, and all they are they're suicide drones that they attach explosives to, and then they fly them in. Now, these things were flying by the thousands during the attack that Iran made on Israel, and all the surrounding countries joined in. I think it was like a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, and all the surrounding countries joined in and just totally annihilated all these things. None of them had a chance. I think one got through out of like thousands, and yeah, these guys, they have the only thing that they would be able to do to create any kind of destruction in any way, shape, or form is if they let loose of everything they have at the exact same time. But they can't do that because they don't have enough launchers. They don't have enough, they don't have the ability to do that, plain and simple. Even with their ballistic missiles that they're threatening that they have and all that stuff, what will happen is that, everything's going to get shot down. And then on top of that, as soon as those missiles launch, the United States and Israel and all these other countries that are over there are going to know exactly where it launched from, and that they're going to relaunch a missile right back at it, destroying that target. So a lot of these launchers that they have are going to get destroyed, which then isn't going to allow them to launch anything else. The American military's might is bigger than anyone can ever imagine. We just got done seeing a weapon being used in Venezuela, the directed energy weapon, which, made people's noses bleed, gave people instant headaches, felt like their heads were going to explode, blah, 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 blah. And we went in and used all this stuff, took out hundreds of, military people. Well, they were basically Cuban bodyguards is all that they were. But we went in, took them all out, and got in and out of there without anybody injured, any aircrafts being lost or anything like that. When we went into Iran and bombed their nuclear facilities, didn't lose not one single aircraft. I mean, what more do you need to know about the United States military?
the most accurate ones. The drone carriers have now been sent off towards the Strait of Hormuz in the south, again near the Persian Gulf, for a possible confrontation with the Americans. Now, these drones were not really a problem for Israel and the Iron Dome to counter, because the Iron Dome, obviously. But we also don't really know how many drones they have. We probably can guess that there will be more drones.
Now let's go back to these submarines for a second. I want you guys to see these, and then we'll come back. You know, these little submarines right here are nothing more than the submarines they use for like drug trafficking and shit. Like, these are their snorkel tubes for their diesel engines. They're not even nuclear powered. So with the diesel engines, they're going to be giving off so much noise in the water, and they're going to be just prime targets for torpedoes. You know, like, they're going to be sitting ducks wherever they go. There could be 8 of them sitting right here, and we send in one or two torpedoes, and they're all done. Yeah, these things, like the guy had said, sent a super chat into Tusi, and said that these are coffins. That's exactly what these things are. They're not made for deep sea. They're not made for like real fighting or anything like that. They have torpedoes and stuff that are on them, but the torpedoes that they have on them are so damn outdated. It's absolutely insane. So they could have 500 of these things, and they still would not be able to stand up against 2 of our submarines, which we have over there right now. And Tusi will cover it here in a few. Try to get back to where it was. I think we're somewhere over here.
So that is one thing to say, but what they're going to be doing is the next couple of days, the next few days, which is a multi-day exercise, because we now have a coalition of other countries as well. First things.
Yeah, and so like right now, why I don't think that we're going to see anything until maybe next weekend is because right now, along with this coalition, and he'll go over who's all involved, but we're getting ready to run, where we are currently running practice missions, so that we know we're sending airplanes up, we're getting all the information of where bombers are, where they're putting their missiles at, where bunkers are at, and like we can get all this information whether Iran wants us to or not. And we're getting everything set up so that they can go in and try to do this just a giant one and done type ordeal.
First, the Americans have come to play massively.
Yeah, you see, that's our submarine. You've seen their submarines. That's our submarines.
Tomahawk.
Like, one of the things about our submarines is they are the scariest thing to every single country in the world. No one knows where these things are at any given time. No one. There's very few in the military, in our own service, in our own Navy, that know where these are at all times. And that freaks countries out, because if you listen to the firepower that these have on them, these things can win a war all by itself. I was on submarines at one point in time for the United States Navy, and let me tell you, we don't need help. We don't need help, and the entire world is terrified of us. You guys, the amount of firepower that we have on there will annihilate entire cities and half a country with just what we have on here. Plus, these things also are capable of carrying nuclear weapons.
Surge is now being seen. The Americans are deploying the Ohio-class submarines to the Persian Gulf. And this, of course, the Tomahawk missiles, you don't mess around with them, because they are very fast, they are very precise, they are very flexible, and they will be able to target anything they want without being stopped by the Islamic Republic. They don't have the capacity. So there are about 150 Tomahawk cruise missiles, and there's also, it could carry up to 154, the Ohio-class submarines. That everything else in the region, on top of the deployment that we've already seen, it can easily destroy all the air assets, everything on the ground nearby, and deep into the capital as well. The Tomahawk missiles, the position, the public line from the Americans is for deterrence. They treat the Tomahawk missiles like it's nuke, because it will be basically like nuke. You can't stop it. And there is most of the mobilization by the US military over the last few days has been for also defense, not necessarily offense, because they also have a lot to already attack if they want to do a strike on Iran. So a lot of it is to defend the US bases and the allies in the region, and of course Israel. But a lot of it will be about flexibility, because again, the Tomahawk missiles, you launch them, they are flexible, they have their own pace, they don't have to go quickly because they can just they have their own maneuver, and but they are very precise and targeted. So that's that. But the Americans and the Israelis, what are they up to? Based on the latest meetings, without obviously having the details, because why would they release the information? They have said that the US with.
So right now, it's scrolling across the bottom. The coalition is the UK, Israel, Jordan, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. Those are all the countries that are involved that are getting ready to strike.
Help of the Israeli intelligence have set up a special department to identify those involved in the massacre in Iran. They have completed the list of targets in terms of positions, actual buildings, for example, government buildings, military bases. So we have them already. But what this new department is doing is to identify individuals who are closer to the top of the regime or mid-ranks, who are responsible when it comes to the massacre in Iran. They're not going to let any of them go. So that is going to be a big problem for those in the IRGC who are thinking about fleeing the country. Some of them, their families have already been sent out to Europe or to Moscow, for example. But a lot of them are now stuck because the top of the leadership are also monitoring the behavior of everybody else inside the regime. So if you misbehave, they are spying on their own people, basically. Then you will get arrested or you'll just disappear. So it's a big problem. Internal conflict, the internal cracks in the regime are quite visible at this point. But the Americans, in terms of the self-defense for their bases and their regional allies, they have also deployed the MMR radar systems in all the neighboring countries, again, Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, and all the others, to be on standby.
So these radar systems that you see right here, this big thing on the back of it is a giant radar. This thing these will know the exact moment that missiles are taking off from their launchers in Iran. And they'll know the trajectory, they'll know the exact distance that they're heading, they'll be able to compute exactly where that rocket's supposed to launch. And then it will send information to others, i.e. the jets that are in the sky or ground power that we have, to say, okay, there's a missile, it's on its way, this is its location, this is where it came from, destroy the missile, destroy the launcher, and then everyth's done and over with. Like, it's so amazing the amount of technology and firepower that they have now that it's almost unfair. And when you realize the amount of power that America has, you understand the reason on why Trump is able to get whatever the hell he wants. And wait till you see later in this video. They're all over the world. And I'm not just saying that to be a smartass, because you guys have heard me on here numerous times saying that Trump annoys the shit out of me. I don't like him, but I like his oh damn it. I like his law and order, or his policies. I don't like him, but I like his policies. And what he's doing around the world is, showing the world that, hey, we're not the country to fuck around with, and we have sat back on our behinds for far too long. We're going to start, imposing our will as the world's number one superpower. Now, with that being said, if you guys haven't been paying attention at all, Trump is actually sending boats right now to the coast of Cuba. He's sending an aircraft carrier over there, just like he did in Venezuela. And they already said that Cuba was next. So just watch for that to be popping off. And then today, over in China, there was a coup that had happened. The number, somehow our intelligence agencies were able to get a hold of China's number one military colonel over there and flip him, and sold us and gave us information about the nuclear program, the defense program that China has, and all this other stuff. And then he decided to get as many people as possible from the Chinese army on his side. And right now there's a giant coup going on over in China. Xi Jinping is like going through and firing everyone. He literally cleaned out his entire military, top to bottom, got rid of everyone. This is all happening today. This was all breaking news earlier today. And so who knows, within the next week, 2 weeks, you really don't know. There could be a new regime change over in China as well, because people are getting tired of the way China's putting themselves on the world scale. And so, they're trying to overthrow that government. So right now, America's got its hands in a lot of things, and it looks like we're winning in all the departments that we're putting ourselves into. But again, here in America, all of our eyes and all the things that are going on, even around the world. These Tusi's over in the UK, and he's covering all the stuff that's going on in Minnesota. So many people are paying attention to what's going on over in Minnesota and everything that's happening there, and not paying attention to anything else that's going on anywhere else in the world.
It's interesting because the existing systems that they had, both the Arabs and the Americans, were going to be enough for basic attacks by the Islamic Republic. But they have added much more just in case the IRGC are not bluffing. The IRGC, who claim that they may have some secret weapons, dirty bombs, or whatever they may have, and if they are desperate to launch everything at the same time, then you're going to need to have more ammo, you're going to need to have more defense systems, and also radar systems to not just be able to see what's about to come, but also to help you with your offensive operations as well. Now, we have a message from inside Iran, thanks to Neo, saying that the prisons are now running out of space and they are starting to release the political prisoners, but before they are released, they are injected with high potassium, the method that the Russians also used in Stalin's prisons. People will have a stroke 2 or 3 days after the release and then die. They will probably kill tens of thousands of others like this very soon.
So do you guys see that right there? The prisons are filling up. So all the people that they're arresting and not killing, the IRGC, the IRGC is the government that's over there right now. They're the regime. They're going through the streets killing everybody, but now all the people that they're arresting, they're putting in prisons. Now the prisons are getting overfull. So what they're doing is they're releasing them. But instead of releasing them and just killing them, they're injecting them with high doses of potassium, which then, and they did this back in Stalin's day, way back during, the height of like the fucking Nazis and Russia and all that shit. But what will happen is that these guys will leave, and then a few days later, they'll end up having a stroke and dying, or they'll have a heart attack, and then they'll end up dying. And so technically, nobody knows who actually was like killed from the war, or were they too old and they actually had a heart attack and died? Were they just like super stressed out and had a stroke? All that stuff. You can't find out. So not only do the numbers are above 60,000, now they're also not talking about the ones that they haven't released the ones that are still, yet to die because this thing's not done yet. So think about that. Having, like, we're over here in America, imagine getting arrested and then before you leave, you get injected just to die a few days later. Like, there's no other country I would rather live in right now than America. With all the craziness that's going on here, I would never want to live anywhere other than here.
Number of people who are going to be killed will be increasing massively. Also, they have been increasing regardless, because a lot of those who are in prisons right now, and there are huge numbers, by the way, they get tortured. And not everybody is going to survive a torture. Their problem here is that they're not releasing any of those numbers. They're also doing their secret executions because they don't want to do public executions. It will be a little bit embarrassing for them at this point. So the secret executions in police stations, and those who are under torture, and this alleged poisoning basically is going to be increasing the number. So it's not really just about those who are getting killed on the streets every day, but it's also about those behind the scenes, that is behind closed doors, that is still happening. There are major things happening. There is a statement from the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. He's now addressed the healthcare workers, saying, message to physicians, nurses, and healthcare workers. Many of our compatriots have been wounded on the path to the freedom of our homeland by the Islamic regime. Numerous reports indicate that regime agents and mercenaries embedded in hospitals and clinics identify the wounded and deliver them to the machinery of repression. In recent days, despite unprecedented dangers, threats, and pressures, healthcare workers and medical centers and hospitals have played a vital role in treating the wounded of the Lion and Sun Revolution. Beyond the reach and sight of the regime's unclean hands, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all of you for your fidelity to your professional oath, your human conscience, and your national duty. And I urge you to continue this invaluable work, and with even greater resolve. Please document the names of those who obstruct the treatment of the wounded of our national revolution and who cooperate with the apparatus of repression, so that at the appropriate time, their crimes and acts of betrayal may be addressed. The occupying regime ruling Iran has imposed an unequal war upon their nation, our nation, and through open and savage violence has committed crimes against humanity. Together and standing side by side, we will overcome this great tragedy and forge a free, bright, and secure future for our homeland and our people.
So the letter here obviously is in Persian, and we can't read it, but he just read it all out for us. But this letter is from Reza Pahlavi. He's the soon-to-be crown prince that's going to be taking over Iran. I can never say it right because I've said it wrong for so many years. But he's going to be taking over Iran after all this is said and done, and trying to get an actual government in there. Reza Pahlavi, his father was the Shah, the king, before America helped overthrow and put the IRGC in there. Now we're overthrowing and putting his son in there. So, it is what it is, but the people that are on the streets are chanting for this guy. They're wishing that he would come back. They're naming streets after Donald Trump. The one thing that I didn't know about, and I think Tusi goes over it in this video, is that on 9/11, when it all happened, the majority of the Middle East was celebrating the deaths of all the Americans that had went through all that, and that had died in the towers, and the families that were going through everything they were going through, and the rescuers that died, and just so on and so forth. Like I said, most of the Middle East was laughing and cheering and celebrating when the people of Iran, when they found out about it, they were in the streets and they were praying and they were crying. They were lighting candles and they were chanting, death to terrorism. and all that stuff. I didn't realize that the people of Iran, when that happened, it hit them so hard, and they supported us so much.
Long live Iran, Reza Pahlavi. So that is the latest statement by the Crown Prince. We also have an update from Savakzadeh in regard to what is going on the ground. We are hearing from people inside Iran that the Islamic Republic and their foreign Arab mercenaries have now turned up their craziness and their viciousness just a little bit extra on the streets, just a little bit more.
Do you guys see this though? These are all people that have just been taken out for no reason other than, wanting a better life for themselves. Remember how I was saying that people were coming and they were looking for their family members? Well, this is what they're doing. There's tags on them, and I don't know if they have the names or dates or whatever these tags are for. But people are going through and they're looking for them, and they were saying as they walk through here, they can still hear people that are inside these body bags that have not passed away yet. They just put them in these and then throw them in here, and then just throw them to the wind.
Every second that passes, every minute, an Iranian is killed on the streets. Anybody who's out will get killed. Anybody who's suspicious will get killed. Nothing has changed. Essentially, this is no longer martial law. This is a one-sided war, and people have no choice to continue to fight back, to continue this war until it is over. Let's not forget, only been 28 days, I believe, right? If I'm not wrong, this is just the beginning. This is going to be crazy stuff. Now, we're going to talk about the coalition, but firstly, what is happening now, over the next few hours, over the next day or two? So the US Air Force have now announced that they are kicking off a multi-day exercise in the Middle East, focusing on testing how quickly and effectively they can move and sustain combat aircraft. So they really want to make sure that this is off the cuff and spontaneous. President Trump wants to ensure this is swift, smooth, not too expensive, quick. So they have to ensure that the military exercise, especially with the coalition allies, is done properly. Yeah, somebody corrected me. Yeah, 29 days. It's been 29 days. So it's only the beginning. It hasn't even been a month yet. And but we are getting much closer to the end of this. It's a major force in a huge country. It was never going to be done within a few days. It's going to be a long get rid of them anyway. So that's what the Americans are now doing. But the coalition. So we now have the United States of America leading as usual. God bless America. We have the United Kingdom and the Royal Air Force, who have sent reinforcements to the Middle East. They will not be on the front line. They will be mostly acting just behind the Americans in self-defense, and also the defense of the allies. So the Brits will not be sent to the front line. Americans will, as usual, lead from the front line. The Israelis are also on standby, of course. They will be going in straight after the Americans, so they will be behind America, but they will be playing an offensive role. UAE and Jordan have also joined the coalition. Jordan will be providing extra support for the American troops. UAE will be the main hub in the south, from the south parts of Iran, for the defense of the region. And of course, all these countries, including Saudi Arabia, will be defending against any IRGC missiles. So Saudi Arabia, Jordan.
And this is kind of huge because all of those countries that he just listed, with the exception of UK and Israel, obviously, just last week, they told Trump, you are not allowed to use our airspace to carry out any of these attacks. And now 1 week later, everything has turned around, and now they're not only using the airspace, but they're going to help with every single thing. The UK rushed a bunch of their jets over there earlier this week which, as you heard, they're not going to be on the front lines. They'll probably be the ones. They're not going to be the ones going in and bombing anything, but they'll probably be the ones that are shooting down the drones. The same with Jordan. The same with UAE and Saudi Arabia. The ones that will be going in and hitting hard will be the United States. The United States is going to go by land or by air and sea, and then Israel more likely is going to come in by land. And I think that's how it's all going to end up working out. So, I think we have like either 30 or 4,000 troops that are stacked up on the border of Iran right now. And I mean, those guys could possibly go in. But again, here we are at the very edge of this all going down, and no one's talking about it.
And UAE and, of course, any bases around the region will be shooting down anything. We'll be trying to intercept anything that is coming from the Islamic Republic. Meanwhile, in London, today and tonight, the biggest ever protest that we've ever seen in the history of the United Kingdom for the cause of...
Let's jump ahead, and I'm going to jump forward a little bit.
Part of the protocol, by the way.
And so these are protests that are going on in London, and this is Raza Pahlavi.
And the crowd started chanting, "Trump, we love you."
President Trump, we love you. President Trump, we love
you. Do you guys see this? This is in Belgium. It says Trump help, and there's thousands and thousands of people sitting here protesting, or not protesting.
So the ambassador is going to send that video to the White House immediately. That will help.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Brilliant, brilliant stuff. This is not the first time, by the way, that the Iranians have shown support to the Americans. On 9/11.
This is the part that I was talking about. Wait till you guys hear this.
In 2001. While the Arabs in the Middle East were celebrating, the Iranians were mourning the death of the Americans in New York City and chanting death to terrorism. Saying our condolences, death to terrorism. Death to terrorism.
This was 25 years ago, you guys. And these people, the people that their government is, the Ayatollah and IRGC, those guys are the ones that are number one terrorists. Imagine, that's why I say is like, you guys don't want America to be the bully of the world. But what if China was the bully of the world? And what if all of a sudden here in the United States, we all of a sudden get overran by a foreign government, by someone that has nothing to do with our values? And that's exactly what's going on over in Iran, because the government that was installed there by the United States, we're not innocent in this, but the government that was installed there was not from that area. They were Arabs from the surrounding countries. So that's like the United States getting taken over, and they're putting in a Chinese government here. And then all of a sudden we get ruled by the Chinese government or a Russian government or, a Venezuelan government or a Cuban government, whatever the case scenario is. And then all of a sudden us as Americans have to live under their rule and their way. That's exactly what's happening to these people for the last 70 years. 70 years. And, and it's because these people had no way to defend themselves. The world that they lived in got flipped right upside down. And that's very possible to happen here in the United States. If we didn't, do the things that we do. I know people get mad about it, but now Donald Trump, and I think every president going forward, if they have half a brain, understands that we don't have to put all these boots down on the ground. We have the firepower and the ability to take people out without putting our soldiers and stuff at risk and getting killed by the thousands. But the Iranian people have been mercifully destroyed by their government for 70 years now. So like we can sit here and get mad about Democrat and Republican. At the end of the day, they're still American. It don't matter if you don't like their policies, the people that they are still American. If you look around, we're getting a lot of Muslims and everything that are starting to, infiltrate our government and our smaller governments. There's like here in Michigan, you got Dearborn, Michigan, where it has the largest population of Muslims in the entire United States. They've infiltrated the mayor position. They've they've gotten into the board of school boards. They've gotten into government positions. And again, like I've always said, there's a difference between Muslims and Islamists. All right. So I'm just saying in this instance that Muslims are, infiltrating all of our branches of government. And what if one day they just want to take over and they want to run things the way that they want to run things? I'm not saying that that's going to happen and by any means. But what if that was to happen? Now you're not worried about Democrat and Republican. Now you're just worried about whatever their laws are going to be.
People in Iran crying for American victims. Never forget.
Indeed, like this was pretty amazing to me. I know this is one piece of information that I never knew. I never knew that the Iranians cared so much. It makes you feel like you're a part of them and wanting to be a part of their war that they got going on over there against their government. I mean, these people didn't have to, like, when the whole world around them is cheering and celebrating, these people are, praying and mourning, the death of people that has nothing to do with them. The United States had nothing to do with them. And as a matter of fact, the United States, like I said, is the one that overthrew their government and put them in the situation that they're in now. And yet here they are crying and doing candlelight vigils for Americans. It's pretty eye-opening and heartbreaking all at the same time.
While the so-called Palestinians in Judea and Samaria and Gaza were celebrating, dancing around, this was what's happening in Iran. And that's in 2001. At the time when the regime in Iran were trying to tell people on the streets that America is your enemy. Someone says, Maya, I appreciate that you do not speak from a teleprompter. Oh, I will not be able to do that. I don't understand their main.
I think you might be getting into it super chats now. Oh, maybe not. Jump ahead a little bit.
Is the moment they hit and pull the trigger, it should be done quickly. There should be a full collapse, maximum collapse. But in case it has to escalate, then obviously they need to be on standby to be ready for a full-blown war. That will still be done pretty quickly. That's what President Trump demands, and that's usually what President Trump gets. What he wants, it will have to happen. Now, let me just get some reaction. We're getting more updates for you guys. Thank you very much for your super chats. Thanks for being a hero and showing this service. We will continue regardless. I think it will be in next week. Yeah, I think in the next few days. I never know.
So,
Trump.
But yeah, so I wanted to bring this video to you because it has a lot of information in it. And you guys go over and give him a follow, or at least keep an eye on his content and give him some, some views, because he's keeping up on a lot of this stuff, and he's giving us all the information. And again, nobody's talking about it, and nobody's covering it in any way, shape, or form. So I just wanted everybody to see a little bit of this. We talked about Iran in the last one, and I wanted to just kind of talk about it again. so that everybody keeps it in fresh in their mind, because there's a lot of big things that are happening out there, and you just want to make sure you guys stay on top of things. I mean, right now they're keeping our mind and eyes and emotions focused on Minnesota and the things that are going on over there, when there's a lot larger things that are happening, not just here in the United States, but over in the Middle East. Like I said, we just got done putting aircraft carriers, sending them on their way to Cuba. And then also, the coup that just dropped in the matter of today over in China. So there's a lot of different things that are going on. So everybody just pay attention, and just do the best you can getting through all this. It's kind of crazy. So thank you guys for joining me tonight. Good seeing some of you guys stopping in tonight. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening. And make sure you guys hit the like button on your way out, and we will talk to you guys soon. Thanks, everyone.